Hey there, true crime friends. Okay, we are finally down to it. Day 5 and day 6 of the state of Tennessee versus David Swift. Y'all, now listen. We know that on day 5, the state rested, but one little thing the state slipped in before they really rested their case. I was like, okay, the state, you have told us absolutely everything. Now, do I think he did it? Yeah, obviously, because he has a murdery face. But I was like, okay, state, if there's one last little thing you had to tell me, what would it be? And the state was like, okay, we're going to put this computer witness guy on the stand, and he's just going to give you a little tidbit about what David was browsing on his computer. And I was like, we saw the murdery face, so we really don't need more, but please go ahead and tell us. Turns out the night that Karen was unfortunately unalived, when her husband unfortunately unalived her, he did his dirty business. Then he went and dropped her off in the field of kudzu, whatever the heck that is. And then he came home and got on his computer and went on Match.com. I'm so glad I'm not single. What? Her body is not even good and cold. And you over there on the Match.com, oh, he's scrolling and swiping or whatever they do to date these days. He's trying to pick up a new woman. Sir. Then he's over at the police station like, I just really want her to come home and be a good wife. I don't even know. I mean, I tried to be a good husband, and yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I had the outside baby who's a son, and then I just abandoned him over in that other state. But other than that, I'm a really, really good husband. And then the police were like, okay, we've been looking at your computer searches and stuff, and yes, you were looking at dating websites. Also, he might have been looking at like some nudie pictures and stuff. But here's the thing. The judge looked at all the information and it's like, oh, no. They will convict him inside of 3 seconds if you tell the jury all this, so don't tell them. And I was like, really? I mean, he looks like a dude who would do all these terrible things. And I think the state already has enough additional evidence without this. But I really, really, really wish that the jury could find out this information. But they can't. So, okay, we're just going to have to go with what the state has already brought. Fine. And so the defense gets up and it was like, in traditional fashion, Your Honor, I will now request that you let my client go because he did not do this. And even if he did, oops. And I was like, I'm sorry, sir. This is what we're doing. This is the defense. He was like, oh, well, Your Honor. Also, yes, there were many, many bottles of bleach in October, in the garage and in the backyard. And I know I told you that they were for the pool because I want you to know, maybe they were cleaning the pool in October. And also, for the record, this is a quote. The defense attorney said, there are many non-homicide uses for bleach. Sir, call me crazy. All of the uses that I have for bleach are not related to homicide. There's stain killing. There's more stain killing. There's turning things that are dingy back white. Sir, okay, so defense, I see you came to play. Okay, defense, come on and put on your defense. Let me see everything that you have to say. I'm here. I will listen. And so the defense was like, we call Robin Ashford, who is very, very nice and holy, and we think you will like her. And Robin got up on the stand, and the minute she sat down, remember in the last case, we talked about our LDS friends. They were just like the regular funeral potato Mormons. Oh, we love them. They're our friends. And then we had the better than you Mormons, the Boomos. I don't know if this lady was LDS or not, but she's better than you. She's a boomo, even if she's not a Mormon. I was just like, ma'am. I can see from the look on your face that you are severely constipated, but I'm going to keep an open mind for the most part, even though I have already seen your face and I have judged you harshly, but I'm going to see what you have to say. And so she sat down and she's like, hi, my name is Robin Alford, and I was very good friends with both the Swifts. They were a wonderful family. Ooh, I'm super Stepfordy, and me and Karen would bake cookies together. We had kids the same age. We met down at the YMCA. Apparently, the YMCA in this town is the local hotspot. Everybody's meeting down at the YMCA. She's like, our girls had dance class down at the YMCA. And so while the girls were dancing, we would sit and talk. Oh, we went on family vacations together. Really? You went on a family vacation with a woman that you met at the YMCA? This is fascinating to me. This must be a Tennessee thing. I meet people all the time. Do I want to go on vacation with them? No. Mostly for vacation, I won't be left alone. But child, that's another story for another day. So she was just like, I was really good friends with Karen. And then she and I hung out all the time. We went on hay rides and we did hunting and lots of wholesome activities. And I was like, that is delightful. Ma'am, please tell me the rest of the story. And then she said, David was an excellent husband. Ma'am, every single body who knew David, number one, didn't like him. Number two, said he was a stalker and potentially murderer, but you liked him. Okay, that tells me all I need to know about you, but keep on talking if that's what you want to do. And so Robin was like, so remember the night of the bonus 40th birthday party? They had that thing over at the country club and we all went and it was wonderful. Well, I went with Karen and David as their plus one. My husband was invited, but he's just like, He also needed some milk of magnesia to help clear out his situation. And so he decided not to go because he said he did not like those people. I was like, oh, better than you. So I was like, okay, he didn't want to go. She's like, that wasn't his kind of people, but I wanted to go and be a supportive friend to Karen. And we dressed in cute outfits and we took pictures and we got ready and all of us went to the party. And I was like, okay, this sounds fun. And she said, and then after the 40th birthday party, we all went back to the bonus house. And I was like, okay, so far so good. And then the defense attorney was like, was there a hot tub? And she was like, it was like suddenly she had to like lick a skunk or something. Her face was all torn up. And I was like, here we go now. I want to hear this story. I really, really want to hear this story. She was like, yes, it was not the centerpiece of the activity. They had a large deck. People were gathered around the deck. A couple of people drank alcohol. I myself don't drink. And I was like, yeah, no kidding, Heifer. I could tell. So, and she would, not that there's anything wrong with not drinking. I don't drink, but this was a particular stiff, stick up her behind kind of not drinking lady, because remember, she's better than you. So anyway, she was just like, so people were imbibing in things and then they got into the hot tub. Now remember, we have heard this story. The boners are naked people. Sometimes you can get in the hot tub with your clothes on, with your clothes off. The boners do not care. They're free and easy breezy, right? But Robin Ashford, I get the feeling that she takes a shower with all her clothes on. She's never naked. Now, she was probably born in like a pamper and a nice modest onesie or something. So she was just like, some people had varying degrees of undress and I was, it left a bad taste in my mouth, but I was trying to avert my eyes. And then Karen got out of the hot tub because she was feeling woozy. I don't think she was drunk. And she just stumbled into the living room of the bonus house and she was laying on like a pillow or the floor or something. And it was very distasteful to me. So immediately I hopped right up and I went in right behind her. And then I saw Bill Bona there and I had to put a blanket over her. He was looking at her in a very creepy way. And I was like, really? Say more. Because the version of this story that I heard was that Bill was trying to do nasty and illegal things to this lady. So you're just telling us he had walked in, saw her, and he was looking at her. And she said, yes. And I clutched all of my pearls and I said, what is going on here? And he said, nothing. And then he put a towel over here. I think if I had not come along, he would have done something terrible. And so the defense attorney was like, thank you so much. I hope you can have a sip of water and calm down. Child. Then the prosecutor got up and was like, hey girl, how you doing? Listen, I have the report back from 11 years ago when you initially told the police this story. And I'm just going to refer you to the documents where you said you saw Karen stumble into the house after a few drinks. She was a little bit tipsy and hot from the hot tub. Okay, fine. And then she sort of passed out on the floor and that Bill Bona had covered her up. And she's like, that is not how I remember it. The way I remember it, I was holier than all of these people. And I covered her up and protected her from the evil, evil man that was Bill Bona. And the prosecutor was like, right. So do you think your memory is better now, 11, 12 years later, in the midst of like a highly publicized trial, or then when nobody knew what happened 11 or 12 years ago? And she's like, I'm just telling you how I remember it. And I was like, okay, Robin, I see you, girl. And she was just like, there's a big dispute, but the way that I recall it, I covered her up and I rescued her and I took her to the ladies' room and helped her get back together. And then I called her husband. And I'm like, wait. So what you're saying is that Bill Bona tried to like leer at this woman to do something nasty, but her husband was right there? Somehow, I don't think how that's went down. That's how that went down. And they were like, okay, is there anything else that you've said about the unfortunate unaliver that's here on the stand today? And Robin was like, well, he was a wonderful husband. Yes, he was very controlling and controlled every single move that she made. But he allowed her to go to the YMCA. He allowed her to cook dinner and to buy groceries for him and the girl. All he wanted was the perfect family. And I do not understand why she would not cooperate with all of that. And I was like, oh, ma'am, you just said out of your mouth that her husband was controlling. Bill, her husband, was controlling, but it wasn't stalking as far as you could tell. He just was forceful and assertive and needed to be in control. I don't know where you from, ma'am, but where I'm from, we call that stalking. And she was like, she thinks she's better than me too, but that's okay. I'm not worried about her. So then she left the stand and I was like, heifer. Anyway, so then they put on some tire expert and the tire expert was like, okay, we were hired by the defense to tell you that whatever the other tire expert said is wrong. And so we believe that Mr. Hog Shooter, the dude who poisoned the dogs, he's the one whose tire prints were there in the mud. And they were like, do you have any proof of that? And the tire expert was like, no, I just feel that in my spirit. And I was like, is this a court of law? I mean, sir, I know you're an expert and you have like a mechanical whatever degree, but feeling something in your spirit is not. I don't think that's how court goes. And he was just like, no, I don't have any proof. That just seems like it's what happened to me. And so that's what I'm going to go with. And I was like, oh, okay. And then day 5 wrapped up. Day 6 of the trial dawned with a delightful and unexpected surprise. And that is that none of the microphones were working. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a long day in court. I do not have time or patience for this. And so the judge was like, hey, the bailiffs and the deputies or whatever, they're going to get all together and fix it. In the meantime, how y'all doing, jury? What you do? Is your mama Bessie Mae? Bessie Mae always made the best biscuits. Can you tell your mama I said hello? Can you give her my biscuit recipe? Can you have her give me that biscuit recipe? Because your mama made the best biscuits. You know, when I was a child, we used to put honey on them. And I was like, why is this man just going on? Judge, can you just send them back to use the bathroom or something? 40 minutes. 40 minutes. We waited for the bailiffs and the whoever else to get it all together. But the judge, oh, he's the king of small talk. I know a little something about that small talk life. So anyway, finally they were like, okay, the defense is ready. The microphones are ready. Everybody has had coffee and breakfast and gone to the bathroom, done everything they need to do. And so this little neighbor came up and I'm like, here we go. Oh my goodness. The parade of nosy neighbors in this case. And the neighbor got up. I don't remember his name because really it's not important. But he was like, yeah, we had some free-range dogs. Me and my wife, we had 4 dogs. I was like, ooh, that's a lot of dogs. But he was like, we just let the dogs roam around. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You just let your dogs roam everywhere, peeing on things, pooping things, sniffing people. No, sir, that's not how that goes. He was like, we lived out in the county. We had 2 indoor dogs and 2 outdoor dogs. And I was like, wait. Like the lady that lived in the barn? Do y'all live in a barn too? I need to know everything about barn life. Y'all, I'm telling you right now, YouTube needs to start serving me up ads for barn life because this barn life thing is fascinating to me. So anyway, he was like, we had some free range dogs. And then Mr. Hog Shooter, the neighbor that nobody likes, poisoned the dogs. And I was just like, oh my God, you had the free range dogs. It's not like this man went in your yard and poisoned your dogs. Your dogs is just out here roaming free in these true crime streets and they got poisoned. Okay, now that is absolutely terrible, but I understand now how it happened. And so they were like, well, how did you find out who poisoned the dogs? And he was like, oh, well, Karen, may she rest. One of her dogs got poisoned too. And so she went over to Mr. Hog Shooter's house and she was peeking in the windows. Y'all just be peeking. Listen, For those of you who do not know, there are rules to this nosy neighbor thing. You cannot trespass. You cannot go. You can't just be your whole face on somebody's window, looking in the window. Apparently, Karen looked in the window and she saw the combination that he used. He used rat poison, fly bait. I'm not even sure what fly bait is. Why you need to bait a fly? I don't understand. And then K-roll syrup, and I was like, ooh, taking me back to the Midwest. I have not heard of K-roll syrup in a minute. You could put that on the juror's mama's biscuit recipe, because K-roll syrup and biscuits, honey, that is some good Sunday morning eating. But anyway, K-roll syrup and powdered sugar. The powdered sugar to me was overkill. But this neighbor, Mr. Hog Shooter, mixed up this poison batch and put it out, and a bunch of the dogs ate it. Now, 4 of this neighbor's dogs ate it. Only 2 of the dogs died. And then for the Swifts, 1 or 2 of their dogs got poisoned. None of their dogs died. It was a terrible situation. Mr. Hawk Shooter got arrested for poisoning the dogs. But then everybody in the neighborhood was just going on his property, pressing their face on the window and looking at it like, there it is, and taking pictures of the inside of their house on the inside of his house on their phones. Listen, I was raised right. I have common decency. I peek through a fence. Might I stand on my tippy toes and look through the lattice on the top of the fence? Yes, it's called manners. Or I go up to the upstairs in my house and hide behind the curtains and look out the window. This is the way this is supposed to go. You cannot trespass. These people own guns. You might get shot. Listen, you are supposed to watch true crime and enjoy true crime, not become true crime. But anyway, so Karen was all peeking in the windows and stuff. And so the defense's whole story of the case is that Karen, because she peeked in the windows and she got Mr. Hawk Shooter arrested, he's the one who unfortunately unalived her, not her husband who stalked her constantly. I'm sure he was home resting safely in his bed when this neighbor, for no good reason, also, he didn't know till way after the fact that it's Karen who peeked in his windows and told on him. So I don't know how he's supposed to unfortunately unalive her when he didn't even know it was her who turned him in. But y'all, that's another story. So anyway, I was like, okay, so we got the whole dog poisoning story. Fine. Y'all been alluding to it this whole trial, so now we know everything. And then the defense called this little neighbor. Now listen, this young man, this young man is having a hard time. He's 22 years old. He was only 11 when this whole situation went down. And he was like, okay, me and my daddy, we were going to go hunting. And I was like, okay. You're going to go hunting. I can't wrap my mind around that. Listen, I hunt down at the ShopRite. Oh, I hunt for the best cuts of meat. They have some real nice meat down there, and I bring it home. I cook it up in the kitchen. Child, that's all the hunting we do. But anyway, so he's like, me and my daddy, we got up real early, and we were going to go hunting. And we saw some people that looked suspicious over in the general neighborhood of the Swift house. And we were going to roll up on them and be like, hey, what y'all doing? Because you're not supposed to be here. But the dude, who was probably another hunter, laid a pistol on the hood of his car. And we're like, okay, we're going to let you have that. Whatever you need to do, sir, even though you are highly suspicious. No, we're not calling the sheriff. We just going to go over here. And I was like, okay, so maybe this was the suspect. Now, the dude was like, I was only 11 when this happened, but I remember it clearly. And so the defense was like, thank you so much for your excellent memory. Then the prosecution stood up and was like, okay, you were 11. What color did you say the car was? He was like, it was white or silver, or it might have been a truck that was either big or small, and it was definitely on the left side of the road or the right. And I was like, okay. And then the dude, I noticed like a weird little twitch, and I was like, is this young 22-year-old gentleman having a neurological issue? Is he having a stroke on the stand? And so then the state was like, yeah. We have some other questions. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? And I was like, what now? What? And he was like, no, I've never been convicted of a violent crime. And the state was like, okay, so what were you convicted of? He was like, DUI, possession of narcotics, and some other assorted narcotics related crimes. And I was like, oh, he's a narcotics enthusiast. Okay. And he might be a skosh high right now. He was like, He was the tweaker neighbor. And I was like, oh, we've had the nosy neighbors. We had the neighbor that lived in the barn. We had the neighbor who was in the tornado of '06. Yo, she told us all about the tornado of '06. And now we got the tweaker neighbor. But pretty quickly, the tweaker neighbor was like a little nervous. And so he got off the stand. I think he needed to go enjoy some lovely narcotics or whatever they do, child. Unclear. It's none of my business. And they were like, the defense calls Miss Pig. And I was like, is Kermit here too? What are we talking? What are we doing? What are we doing? I, honest to goodness, thought they were making this up. And a very nice lady came and sat down and they said, is your name Miss Pig? And I was like, how dare they? How very, very dare they? I was insulted on her behalf. And she was like, my name used to be Miss Pig. And then I divorced my husband. Now I'm Mrs. something else. And I was like, get out of here. Her name is actually Miss Pig. Okay. Come on, Piggy. Let's see what you got to say. She wasn't like a piggy looking woman. She didn't have like a pig face, a pig nose, nothing. But her name was, girl, you know that's love. If you marry a man, you meet a man, and his last name is Pig, and you go on the second date, that man is magical. Because even if I like married him or whatever, I would remain Kathy, whatever my last name was. Because ain't no way in the world I'm ever going to be Miss Pig. Calling me Miss Piggy. Calling my children the little piggies. I'll bet you not. So anyway, Miss Pig gets up on the stand. Now, keep in mind, this is the defense's witness. And so they were like, she said, I saw David go over to where Karen was working and he brought her food and he was very loving and everything. And I was like, okay, that's nice. She's here to say he was a loving husband. And then the state got up and said, right, did you see him with the crutches? And she was like, It looked like he was faking to me. He was walking around just fine, but then periodically, it's hard to remember when you fake it. Periodically, he would pick up a crutch and hobble a little bit. But for the most part, he was just faking. I was like, oh, Miss Pig come through. Miss Pig got that good. She got all the juice, all the backroom tea on old David Swift over there with the murder face. And I was like, okay. And then last, certainly not least, they called David's children. It was very sad. Before they could even say their names, they was crying. I was crying. Everybody was crying. It was sad. And they were like, we're good kids. We turned into be fine human beings, even though our father unfortunately unalived our mother. I mean, they didn't say that, but I was feeling that in my spirit. I was like, okay, he killed your mama, right? You loved your mother. You miss her. They still speak warmly of her mother, despite the fact that their daddy killed their mama. So I was just like, okay, great. And so then the kids went and sat down. They really didn't add anything except that they broke my heart. Here's the other little question. He has 4 kids. Only 2 of them testified. Where are the other 2 kids? I didn't see him sitting in the gallery. The whole courtroom was empty. Are the other 2 kids looking at daddy like, he did that? I need to know. But it's none of my business. And that outside baby turns out it's a son child. We have not seen hide or hair from him. So wait, where's his mama at? Did he ultimately marry the lady who he had the affair with, that he had that outside baby with? Listen, I hope that outside lady went and got her whole life together, got a new father for that son, and is living happily ever after, because that is what she deserves. This boy does not deserve a father who's an unfortunate unaliver. So anyway, I was like, okay, what other half behind witnesses do you have? And so then the defense was like, we rest. And I was like, you had a bunch of real weak witnesses and now you rest? Okay, closing statements. And so I was like, okay, so the state stands up and he's talking and he's like, I'm only gonna need like 15 minutes, Judge. I'm gonna make really quick work of this. And so I was like, okay. He was like, you have seen the case. You have seen the evidence. Obviously, David did it. Nobody else could have done it. Mr. Hog Shooter didn't do it. Even if Hog Shooter did do it, they have shown no evidence of it, except for that one dude felt it in his spirit. And I don't know if you know how law works, but that is not evidence or nothing. I feel stuff in my spirit too. I feel that he did it. Look at his murdery face. But no, you are the ones who get to decide. And so I'm going to sit down and now this defense attorney is going to tell you some lies and then I will be back. And I was like, okay, let's see. So the defense attorney stands up and is like, listen, this is all a big misunderstanding. Yes, everybody got up here and said that he was controlling. That is sometimes what love looks like. What is a little light stalking between loved ones? Thank you so much. Please don't send my client to jail, or at least wait till he has paid the balance on my bill. Have a nice day. And I was like, really? What is a little light stalking between loved ones? That was the theme of the closing statement, which says to me, this dude knows his client is going down. The evidence is kind of overwhelming. Yes, it was a cold case. Yes, it took a long time. I don't know what took it so long. But now, Tennessee, here we are. The jury has the case. And then I was like, well, it's going to take another like 45 minutes for the judge to give his little closing statements and to read the law. Not in Tennessee. Listen, Tennessee does not have time for your mess. The judge was like, well, you heard everything. I'm going to take 3. It's 15 of you over there. 3 of y'all got to come out because only a few of you can deliberate. You go decide and let us know. I'm going to see y'all later. And I was like, oh, Tennessee, I'm here for the casualness. In the meantime, we're on verdict watch. Just like that, we are on verdict watch in the state of Tennessee versus David Swift. I will let you know when we have a verdict. In the meantime, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you soon. Bye.